December 6th. What does this day have to do with me? Well, on this day, 10 years ago, back in 2011, I filmed one of the very few first restroom tours. Back then, I didn't know how far I was going to go with this. I thought this would be just a joke hobby, but it became a reality. Around the summer of 2012, I really started taking this stuff very seriously. And here we are today, 10 years later. So much has changed, hasn't it? There's been a lot of changes to my content, how I film, what I upload. Compare that to 10 years ago. I had no idea where I would end up. But to celebrate this very special occasion, and the fact that I just recently reached up to 700 subscribers, thank you guys by the way, I thought I'd do a very special top 10 video. And this will be the top 10 best fixtures of each year. Now, how this is going to work is that I'm going to select only one toilet from each year, and kind of explain how it was the best from that year. Now, they'll obviously see some obvious choices, and you get to see some never before seen footage of some fixtures. So this will be exciting for all of them. Now let's go back in time as we count down the 10 best toilets from each year. Now, looking back at the year this all started, there wasn't really much to choose from. I mean, you had a Mount Vernon with a sluggish flush, you had a Crane Atlas, you had a Genium Highline. Those aren't really anything interesting. I think they're good, but don't really qualify for this video. So the fact that this 1992 Cadet was filmed definitely made this much better choice. I mean, I don't think I really need to explain why this is up here. It's a Cadet. What else do you want me to say? It's a great toilet. Come on now. Now we're getting to the more reasonable choices. Considering 2012 was probably one of my best years, there was a lot to choose from, but ultimately I chose this classic. This is probably going to be one of the most recognizable toilets on my channel because I have done so many reshoots of this toilet. So I originally filmed this back in October of 2012. Then I did a 2013 reshoot, a 2016 reshoot, a 2019, a 2020, and a 2021 reshoot of this exact toilet. That's a lot of reshoots, isn't it? But, I mean, honestly, can you blame me? This is probably one of the most bizarre vintage toilets I've ever filmed. And this thing is just a strange beauty. Not only does it have a very interesting flush and a very odd design, making it look like it's some kind of washed down toilet, but it's also a very strong performer. If the amount of reshoots I've done on this toilet tells you that I'm never going to get tired of this toilet, I don't know what will. So, potential 2022 reshoot possible? Yeah, very possible. So, keep an eye on out for that. But overall, this beauty deserves to be up here. Also, fun fact, on my 2013 reshoot, I titled this video 1955 Hallmark Toilet, which was very random of me, but considering the toilet was actually from 1953, I wasn't too far off, wasn't I? Like the Hallmark toilet, this is yet another iconic toilet because of how many reshoots I've done of it. Now, similarly to the Hallmark, you haven't seen most of the reshoots, but I mean, I have uploaded this towards the beginning of this channel, so that's probably why it's popular. And plus, it's extremely rare find similar to the Hallmark toilet. As for the reshoots, it's not as many as the Hallmark toilet, but it's definitely up there. So I originally filmed this in 2013, then 2016, 2018, 2020, and of course 2021. Similarly to the Hallmark, I don't think this is a toilet I'll ever get tired of reshooting, and will film it until the end days. This is obviously definitely one of the best Gerber Mount Vernon models out there. I mean, I don't think any other variations or later generations can beat this because they have their problems. They're not as good as it. I mean, obviously they're good, but they're definitely not as good as this version. I mean, this version is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. It flushes great, performs great. Can't beat it.
I think it's like an older version.
You probably won't believe me that I found this in the back of a Dollar General, but I did. Now, you're probably curious on why I included a urinal and not an actual toilet. Well, there's many reasons. 2014 was probably one of my lamest years, because I don't really remember finding a whole lot of good stuff. I mean, I did find some good stuff, obviously, but nothing really out of the ordinary. So, ultimately, this was my choice. But you might be saying to yourself, but hey, there's a good Virgin Cola Walworth in here. Why is that not in the best of list? Ew. Okay, now time for a confession. Virgin Cola Walworths are some of my least favorite toilets. The flushes are so unappealing and slow, and not even that good, honestly. And as you can see, there's also some balance problems on this one, but 2014 wasn't too bad for it. I mean, at least it flushed out properly. If you see my 2016 reshoot of this, it is so much worse than what you're seeing. The flush sucked. The balance was 3 times worse than what it was in this video, and it probably was easy to clog at that occasion, which is very contrary to the 1964 one I filmed at 70 Woodpin Place a few months ago. So, yeah, that's why it's not on this list. But the Deerfield, I mean, it's the best version Deerfield. There's no question about it. The second gen doesn't even compare. I mean, what else do I have to say? It sucks that I had to pick a urinal for this because 2014 was just kind of a lame year for me, but it is what it is. Ah, yes, the Borg Warner prep toilet that I randomly found one day. I was pretty excited to find this. Although, God, this thing needed the cleaning. The thing had a straight up amazing flush, though. Sadly, I wasn't able to see it until a few years later, and it was replaced with garbage. Man, that pissed me off when I saw that. At least I documented it, so there's that, I guess. Still, though. While 2016 was a better year for finds, there really wasn't a whole much to talk about besides this Ream Claymore. This is actually the only other Ream tool I saw besides the out of order Ream tool I found back in 2014, which would have made 2014's listing had it been working. So it's pretty exciting to see this, considering I don't ever see Ream toilets that often. But of course, a few years later, the place closed down, probably due to low business. I mean, this first store was located in a very weird area anyway, so that doesn't really shock me. But it's sad to see it close down. At least I documented it while I had a chance to. Like 2014, 2017 was kind of another lame year for me. Actually, I argue it's even worse than 2014. But this Crane Drexel I found at this recycling shop was very surprising. Unfortunately, around 2019, this restroom I'm filming here was employees only. They still had it, thankfully, and the women's restroom had theirs replaced with a freaking Unreliant, aka that shitty American Standard toilet. That's literally like every other American Standard toilet today. Of course, like the first shop, this place suffered the same fate and closed down sometime later in 2019. Well before the virus started, by the way. So, another place that's sad to see to go, but at least I documented it while I had the chance to. Man, was this find surprising. I almost had a heart attack when I found this. This, of course, was in the woman's restroom and not the men's. The men's had theirs replaced, of course. Granted, I am glad these are still there when I found it. This was actually at an old school building, which was a church while I was there. And I am so glad I got to film this. Granted, the flush on this one is very underwhelming. But man, it's so cool to see this. It's not often you find a Ford Trapper with a rear spud tank that still works. Granted, I would have included the second Ford Trapper on here, but it was out of order when I was there, so I have to include this one instead. But hey, it's pretty cool. And of course, the building is closed down as of today. Again, it's sad to see it go, but at least I got it to see it when it was in action. Out of all the choices on this countdown, this is probably one of the most WTF finds. Let me give you some context. This building right here was built in 1970. The only thing original is a 4th gen Kohler Woolworth in the second stall. So meaning that this toilet was definitely a salvage from somewhere. And man, was I glad to see this. I mean, this was another heart attack inducing find. This is probably one of my favorite Ford Trappers of all time. Sure, it's not perfect. Sure, it could be a little better, but I just love the designs on this thing. The spout, the opening, the design in general, the outer design, everything. I hope I find another one of these one day, because I love these right here. You know, it'd be even cooler if I could get one for my collection. Ah yes, another heart attack inducing find. I found this at a thrift store and was very surprised to see there was anything original, let alone a Ford Trapper on Flushometer. This was so cool. Granted, the time when I filmed this, it did not have the greatest flush. But in 2021, they definitely stepped up their game, so I'm counting this for the 2020 listing. I mean, this thing is so cool. And who knows, there's probably even more here considering there's other restrooms which were unfortunately for employees only. But hey, there's that possibility. And now we come to 2021, the current time now. Well, I ultimately ended up going with the 1939 Standard Cadet. I'm going with the first one I found, not the second one. Because, well, they're relatively same, but I didn't really get to test the second one. The choice was very hard to choose because there's a lot of cool stuff I found, but ultimately I went with this instead of something like the Modernist or the Saxonets. And just for this reason, how often do you find first generation Standard Cadets? It's hard, isn't it? Sure, they may not perform as good as the Modernists and the Saxonets, but they're still pretty cool to find, and they were pretty epic in general, even though they could have been better. But hey, it's a first generation design. It's not always going to be top notch. And that concludes my top 10 list of the best toilets from each year. Man, was it very shocking to get to 10 years. Many people suffer burnouts, many people get tired of the hobby, but I kept going. And I hope to continue this for as long as I can. Yeah, it's a very weird hobby, yeah, it's very out there, but hey, it's something I enjoy doing, and I want to do it without you guys. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Here's to 10 more years.